Natural disaster is a catastrophic event with atmospheric, geological, and hydrological origins. They may be in the form of drought, earthquake, flood, hurricane, and landslide that can cause fatalities, damage property, and the social environment. These hazards oftentimes have overwhelming consequences on man and the environment, thus resulting in high mortality and morbidity. This scenario paints a vivid picture of the ravaging effects of this year's flood, which has claimed over 600 lives and displaced millions of people across 33 states of the Federation. It is evident that this year's flood disaster is more devastating compared with that of 2012 floods, described as the worst, having killed 363 persons, displaced over 2.1 million, and affected 30 out of the 36 states of the Federation. The ravaging effects of the 2022 flood is the focus of today's discourse on Frontiers. My name is Obiageli Ugwoke. To give more insights to the flood situation and effort at mitigating the effects of the disaster is Mr. Hassan Nuhu, Director, Relief and Rehabilitation, National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA. Glad to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
The program continues shortly. Once more, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, now, going by record, we have millions of Nigerians displaced due to the flood disaster. Just about 2 weeks ago, we saw that about 1.3 people are already displaced and hundreds dead. Going by this enormity, we know that NEMA has its hands really full by this disaster. Now, what is the situation like?
We have recorded 612 deaths, about 3.2 million people affected, and with about 1.4 million displaced in need of assistance. About 500,000 hectares of farmlands were some partially destroyed, some totally destroyed, and about 700,000 people are injured. This is the situation as at the last count. The water is still causing some damages in the southern part of the country. The northern part of the country has, of north, it has dried off completely, and the water is receding in the southern part of the country, but you still have issues there, and the experts have told us that it may extend up to the end of November before we can say that the flood situation is completely over. A lot of efforts have gone through from the beginning. This is a disaster that we can say has been anticipated. There was an early warning messages, an early warning. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency and the Nigerian Hydrological Services agencies have given us climate information hinging that flood is coming. We, as a catalyst agency, we added value to the warnings coming up from the Climate Services Agency by making it simpler and disseminating it to responsible authorities and to communities at risk. We made it simpler in a way by providing flood risk maps to now tell responsible authorities and the communities at risk that these are the areas that are likely to be flooded with maps, and then advising them on the higher ground that they can move for safety. We have communicated this to the governors, to our partners in the states, the state emergency management agencies, and we have worked assiduously together to convince the people to leave to higher grounds for safety. And we have proceeded to respond appropriately and efficiently to the consequences of the flood.
Now, it's been adjudged the worst flood disaster since NEMA was established, and we've seen your agency doing its best, trying to provide food and non-food items to victims of the disaster in affected areas across the country, just like you've mentioned in some of the states. Now, what is the status of relief intervention?
Well, we have provided, as the flood started around March, April in some states, on a need basis, whenever there is an issue that we felt is beyond the capacity of the state to handle on its own, NEMA intervenes by supporting the effort of the state government. We've been doing this from March 2022 right down to this moment as we are talking now. We've dispatched relief assistance to all the affected states. And some states, 1, 2, 3. Our own intervention is purely on a need basis. If there is need for assistance that it is adjudged to be beyond the coping capacity of the local government and the state, then NEMA provides support. In some states, we've been there like 3, 4 times, depending on the situation. Now, in the northern part of the country, north central, we have passed the relief stage. But in the southern part of the country, in states like Anambra, Ebonyi, Delta, Bayelsa, and like Bayelsa State, this is at the peak of the situation now. So the relief effort is still ongoing there. We are delivering food, non-food items, and basic necessities of lives in all these locations. And we are still reassessing and assessing the situation. We will provide any time there is need. NEMA will try to plug in these needs.
But now, just as we all know that food is very important for man's survival, but water too is very vital. There are reported cases of cholera outbreak in some affected communities, and sources of water have been deeply contaminated by the flood waters. What is NEMA doing to address this problem?
We were fortunate to have at our disposal some water purification machines donated to the agency by the Japanese government through the Japan International Cooperation Agency. We dispatch these water purification machines to areas of critical need. It purifies water so that water becomes good drinking water. And we've done this in earnest. Anywhere there is need, we move these machines to. We've deployed to Jigawa, to Kogi, to Benue. Now we are moving the facility to the southern part of the country also. You know, when flood hit, the next secondary aftermath of it is cholera because of the contamination of the water. We've recorded already cases of cholera in Gombe, in Borno State. And we have alerted the relevant ministry, the Ministry of Health, telling them that this is the situation and it is bound to continue in the affected states. And they have brazen off to the call. They lead in the area of health. What we do, we support, like when we have this, we supply disinfectants to the affected communities when it happens. But in terms of providing medical support is the Ministry of Health, and they are quite aware of that responsibility, and they have braced up to it.
Now, what is going to be NEMA's next action after the relief intervention?
Well, after relief, when the water recedes, people will naturally want to go back to their houses.
Exactly, because we'll have quite a number of them displaced.
So what NEMA is doing is to provide support to the people in terms of building materials. Cement, roofing sheets, ceiling board, nails are provided as a support to those who are affected. And we are now at the stage of post-disaster need assessment, comprehensive post-disaster need assessment, so that we can know what happened to all the sectors of the economy. And then what really happened, to have a deeper reflection of what happened. What have we done right? What have you done wrong? Why are we having such a number of people dead? Why are we having such loss to critical infrastructure? We need a comprehensive post-disaster need assessment to do that. And we are already talking with the World Bank. They are going to help us with what they call GRADE, Global Post-Disaster Assessment, using satellite imageries and remote sensing. I will be able to, within a couple of weeks, have an estimate of what happened to the economy, to agriculture, to critical infrastructure, so that we can plan a comprehensive recovery package. Because apart from losing lives and properties, the flood have affected the livelihood of the people, especially in agriculture.
Farmlands have been destroyed, ravaged in different
over
communities,
500,000 farmlands have so far been destroyed. So we want to know where, who is affected, so that we can also support in the agricultural sector. You cannot do all these things unless you have a comprehensive assessment. While we are doing the ground survey, we also want to complement it with remote sensing and satellite imageries to have a comprehensive assessment of what happened, so that it can guide our support in terms of rehabilitation and in terms of recovery.
All right, we'll pause for a while. I'll get back to you. You're watching Frontiers, and the focus is the 2022 flood disaster. We will be back in just a moment. Just stay with us. Thanks for being there. Now, talking about intervention, before even the commencement of the rainfall, the Nigerian Hydrological Services and its sister agency, Meteorological Agency, has released some predictions of this flooding across Nigeria. What is your take regarding the level of preparation on the parts of the state government and other actors?
Well, I would say there is some level of improvement, but still much needs to be done, because these predictions were released as early as February by NIMET, and then the flood outlook came in the first week of May, telling us in specific terms the expected communities that will be flooded. And this was disseminated to responsible agencies and the communities at risk. And one will wonder why we still have this loss of human lives in particular. It shows that really people do not adhere to these early warnings. In every, like in Kogi, our officers were there and pleaded with the people to leave. They said they will leave when the water comes, and it comes with a lot of devastation. So we need to improve in our reach to the people. Our advocacy has to increase and focus directly to communities at risk. We need to reach out to traditional institutions, traditional rulers, religious leaders, community leaders, for people to understand that these warnings are real, not imaginary. They are scientific, they are real, and they should adhere to them. We shouldn't continue to lose lives needlessly. If you see the statistics, the water level exceeds that of 2012, and yet the number of people affected is about 3.2 million. And what we have in 2012 is almost double that number. So in terms of number of people affected, it has reduced. In terms of displaced persons, so far we have about 1.4, which is significantly lower than 2012. So while we are making progress...
So all this effort is attributed to the early warnings?
Yeah, to the continuous improvements we are having in our approach to the warnings that we received, and also some investments that some states have made in terms of building drainages and culverts to ward off this flood. So while some progress has been made in some areas, unfortunately, the number of people lost in 2022 almost double that of 2012. So, and it is from the human angle. People didn't listen to the warnings to move. So we have to invest more in enhancing the capacity of the local communities to be able to appreciate these warnings and act on them.
Now, you briefly mentioned some organizations that are already into synergy with NEMA. Tell us more about the interagency collaborations between NEMA and maybe National Environmental Standards and other organizations towards mitigating the impact of the flooding.
Well, you know, every disaster is multidisciplinary, multi-jurisdictional, multi-resource endeavor. To be able to attend to it effectively, you have to bring everybody, federal, state, and local government. At the federal level, all the relevant ministries, departments, and agencies. At the state level, all the relevant state ministries, departments, and agencies. At the local government, all the relevant departments. So, when you are talking of water, sanitation and hygiene, Federal Ministry of Water Resources lead in that respect. If we have any situation of flooding, they are supposed to provide water in the IDP camp. They are supposed to also lead in providing sanitation and hygiene at the camps. Then for all health issues, it's within the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Health. For NFIs, NEMA is leading. NEMA provide NFIs, NEMA provide food to the affected population. For issues of temporary shelter, the National Commission for Refugees and NEMA provide that support to affected people. Then environmental issues, like now that the water is receding, there are a lot of environmental backlogs to restore the environment back to where it was before the flood. The Federal Ministry of Environment, NESRIA, are leading in that respect. So it is a work for everybody. In terms of organizing such a rescue, the fire service, federal and state fire service, are supposed to lead in the area of search and rescue, searching for victims and rescuing them. What NEMA does is to provide the umbrella that all these stakeholders will come together. And also we lead in some aspects of the gamut of activities that are required. And we also plug in the gaps. We are not leading in terms of water supply, but we provide water because we have to provide the immediate support where it is needed and not available. Sometimes we go in, we provide medicaments where there are gaps. So NEMA provide an umbrella for everybody to be able to operate, and then where there are gaps, we strive to plug in such gaps.
The 2022 flood devastation, it's a disaster that will no doubt linger in the minds of many Nigerians. What can be done to tackle its recurrence? Because we see it recurring, like from 2012 up to this moment, we've seen about 10 billion people being affected by the same disaster. Now, what will be done for prevention and as well to help tackle its recurrence?
Elsewhere, globally, we need to invest more on understanding this flood risk, both at the federal, state, and local government level. We should deepen our understanding of the risk. Why does it happen? How can we prevent it? We should deepen that our understanding. Two, we need to strengthen the disaster risk governance that we have in Nigeria at both the tiers. We should strengthen NEMA the more, strengthen SEMA, strengthen the local government emergency management committee, and strengthen the various departments, ministries, departments, and agencies in their own responsibilities in handling the issues of the flood. And number three, we should invest more in disaster risk reduction so that we increase the resilience of the community. The community should have sufficient resilience. If the people are resilient, they wouldn't wait really.
And even after the warnings,
even after
some
the
still
warnings.
insisted and
So we
stayed
need
back.
to make more investment in disaster risk reduction in infrastructures, in flood risk infrastructures, and also in the capacity of the people. And then four, we should work very hard on our level of preparedness. Level of preparedness here refers to even the early warning system. We need to strengthen it. We need to have more preposition resources to be able to say we are prepared. We need to sharpen our response mechanism. Who is involved? What do we need to do? We need to do that. We need to improve on our communication system, to do joint rehearsal with all the stakeholders and training. And finally, we should build back better. When we are recovering from 2012 flood, every recovery effort should be better than what it was before the flood and should have the capacity to withstand the next round of flooding.
So hopefully everything will get better. and bounce back to normal. Thank you very much, Mr. Nuhu.
Thank you
we
very
sincerely
much.
appreciate you for coming on the program, and thank you for the detailed analysis of the situation on ground, as well as response and prevention of the flooding disaster in Nigeria.
Thank you. We appreciate.
I will close with a charge by the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres at the celebration of this year's International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction. He encouraged all countries to invest in early warning systems and support those who lack capacity, adding that extreme weather events will happen, but they do not need to become deadly disasters. My name is Obiageli Ugwoke. Thanks for your time.